Diane Keaton and Robert De Niro are an estranged couple, married, now divorced, whose adopted son is about to get married to Amanda Seyfried, who seems to be the go-to person for all of these, these sort of films. And here's the gag. His mother is a very, very strict Catholic, okay? And he's not, and she's not, but his mother's very, very strict Catholic. And he wants her, his birth mother, because obviously he's adopted, birth mother is very strict Catholic, and he wants her to come over and enjoy the wedding ceremony and celebrate and be pleased and everything. But the problem is, because she's a very strict Catholic, she would only approve of the wedding if she thinks that the parents are still married, which of course they're not. They're actually divorced. Indeed, he is remarried to Susan Sarandon. What on earth are they going to do? The only thing they can possibly do, because this is the comedic solution in all these things, is that they're going to have to pretend to be married for the course of the wedding. Here's a clip.
Just pretend to be married for the weekend. What's the big deal?
Where would you like me to start? Sweetie, there's just one little part that I'm stuck on. If those two are still married, then what does that make me?
My concubine?
This is going to go great.
It's a very short clip.
Is that all we've got?
That was it. Do you want to play it again?
No.
You sure? Because, I mean, we could do it just to
We're
sort of...
only allowed one concubine per afternoon.
Oh, is that... That's not a rude word, is it?
No, it's just...
It's just that's what you...
It's very biblical.
Yeah, can I just say if the phrase "we're only allowed one"? Yeah, fine. So anyway,
It's
so
a BBC statute. It's in the
yeah,
rules.
fine. So then there are these other subplots, which is that there's the brother who is approaching 30 and is still a virgin, and then there's the sister of the brother who turns out to be very, very sort of free and easy and very, very different to the way in which American women will. Is there any possibility that those two will find something unusual in common? Meanwhile, there is Robin Williams, who is the priest. It's weird. Robin Williams is the priest who at the beginning we see he's introduced, and he says, "Okay, now this is what you have to do. Are you going to have children in the faith? And are you going to bring them? No. Okay, fine. And are you? I take it that you haven't partaken of the fleshy. You have." And then he goes, "Right. Well, then it's straight to hell for the both of you." But then that then goes out the window, and he immediately turns into this other character who actually doesn't care about all this. And the film is full of these things. It's full of setting up these problems. Oh, we can't possibly do this because this person thinks this, so we'll have to have a really complicated plot machination to tiptoe around it. And then they forget about it. No, it doesn't matter anymore. And then there's this other thing over here when yes, this person believes in this, so you have to pretend to be him. And then when they say that, you've got to go. And then they forget about it. And they go. So it's really odd. And whilst we were watching it, I had this strange sensation. I thought this has to be a translation of a foreign language film. It has to be one of those lost in translation movies, which somehow in its original version, all these kind of tortuous threads made some kind of comedic sense. And the thing it reminded me of while I was watching it is, do you remember that film, The Dinner for Schmucks, Dîner de Con?
I've heard you talk about it.
Yeah, well, the film, The Dinner for Schmucks, was absolutely terrible. But behind it, there is this film, which apparently, in its original European version, is actually very funny. In the case of this, it's not that it's totally without laughs. It's not, because some of the performers are really, really good. I mean, Diane Keaton, is one of the great screen comedians of, the past 50 years. I know not everyone's crazy about her, but she's really funny. She's Annie Hall and as good as it gets, and not as good as it gets. Something's got to give. And, and actually I think Susan Sarandon's got great comic timing, and Robert De Niro, he's never going to be the funniest guy on earth, but there is something kind of oddly appealing about seeing Robert De Niro doing comedy. So there are individual things in it that sort of seem to be working. And certainly when you compare it with the absolute desert of humour of watching Hangover 3, I laughed much more in this than I did in Hangover 3. That said, I laughed much more the last time I had root canal than I did in Hangover 3. So just a smattering, the merest hint, just a light frosting of laughter that adorned my screening of this obviously put Hangover 3 to shame. But you come out of it and you go, hang about a minute. It kind of reminds you of the fact that, De Niro was in that remake of Stana Tutti Bene, in which you thought, yeah, that reminded me how much I liked the original, and this doesn't have any of it. And all the way through, you get the sense that somewhere in the background, there's another film with this story in which all these elements come together, in which all these elements gel, in which this sort of, ludicrous, contorted wedding farce makes sense. But this isn't it. But since I'm not watching that, I'll still watch these performers, because every now and then they'll do something that's kind of funny. But for the film itself, I don't believe in the people, I don't believe in the plot, I don't believe in the way it's panning out. all I believe is that there is another film in which this makes sense, but this isn't it.